Welcome to another edition of Tornado Talk. We're here every Monday night at Dugan's Pub, 29 West French Broad Street in Brevard, North Carolina. Glad you're able to join us for an inside look at Brevard College athletics. We've got an exciting show on tap for you. We're going to talk a lot of women's lacrosse. They're off to a hot start. We have two women's lacrosse student athletes who are going to join the show. Makaya Vacchiano and Diana Loaiza will join the show. We'll also hear from assistant coach Tempest Smith. Football student assistant coaches Axel Easter and Bubba Craven will join the show a little later, as will cross country and track and field coach Daryl Patrick. Want to thank all of our sponsors: Arby's, Zaxby's, Holiday Inn Express, Hampton Inn, Mission Sports Medicine, Ingles, Comporium, Pepsi, and Dugan's Pub, the home of Tornado Talk. Do want to catch you up on some breaking news. Hannah Scharf today was named USA South Conference Women's Lacrosse Rookie of the Week. Hannah wins the first Athlete of the Week award ever garnered by the women's lacrosse program for a USA South competition. And she has enjoyed a great start to her career. 5 goals, a couple of assists, total of 7 points. So congratulations to Hannah, the Southport, North Carolina native, as the Brevard College women's lacrosse team's off to its best start in program history. And we'll talk a lot more about women's lacrosse a little later in the show. And by the way, Hannah's now the 14th honoree for USA South weekly awards by Brevard College student athletes. So great job by all the student athletes so far this season. Now, over to cycling, some news was announced over the weekend. 7 Brevard College cycling student athletes have been named to the USA Cycling Fall Class of Collegiate Academic All-Stars. Now, what this is a look at grade point average combined with whether the cyclist competed in the national championship competition. And 7 Brevard College cycling student athletes were able to earn those awards. Hannah Rensman, Carson Beckett, Tyler Clark, Dalton Collins, Hannah Dixon, Tyler Orschel, and Nicole Rusden. So congratulations to those 7. Now, if you go to bctornadoes.com and you check out Brevard College Tornadoes social media, you'll see some buzz going on as Brian Davison of Nike Basketball Sports Marketing came and spoke to over 300 student athletes last week at Brevard College. Brian is a 2007 alum of Brevard and today has a very exciting job in the sports world where he works closely with many of the world's greatest basketball players, including NBA superstar Giannis, who gave a personalized message to the Brevard College student athletes that you can find on the social media channels of the Brevard College Tornadoes. Just update you on the other spring sports quickly before we get to our first guest. Baseball entering today off to a 3-4 start. They lost game 1 against Piedmont, and game 2 is going on now. Next up for the Tornadoes baseball team, home against North Carolina Wesleyan. Games 1 and 2 of that series on Saturday beginning at noon at Gilcone Field, and then Game 3 of the series on Sunday at 1 p.m. Softball won its season opener at Elizabeth City State, originally scheduled for a doubleheader, could only play one game due to weather on the east coast of North Carolina, but did get that season opening win over Elizabeth City State, then a couple of tough losses in a doubleheader, the home opener yesterday versus Montreat. Men's and women's tennis is in action today at Piedmont. If we get any updates from men's and women's tennis, we'll be sure to let you know. Women's tennis did win 7-2 over Meredith yesterday at the McCoy Tennis Complex. Singles wins by Samantha Sepe, Kelsey Kushner, Darden King, and Mackenzie Bowman. Men's and women's golf is in Myrtle Beach, a windy day in Myrtle Beach. Top golfer for the Tornadoes, Austin Fisher, shooting a 78. And climbing hosted its third annual Boulder Bash on Saturday at the Brevard Rock Gym, a tremendous success. 79 collegiate climbers, not only Brevard College in the house, but Lees McRae, Duke, Butler, UNC Chapel Hill, UNC Charlotte, Virginia, Virginia Tech, and Western Carolina all competing in that competition. Madison Altman led the Tornadoes on the women's side, finishing in 6th place. Jake Roberts was the highest finishing climber for the Tornadoes on the men's side, 16th place. And just want to congratulate everybody involved and all the sponsors who helped make that possible. Men's lacrosse was on the road in Maryland over the weekend, a tough loss to Hood College. They'll be back in action on Saturday with a home match versus Pfeiffer, 5 p.m. at Ives Lamel Field. And that brings us back to women's lacrosse. And happy to be joined in just a matter of moments here by our two guests from the women's lacrosse team. Makaya Vacchiano to my immediate left, and Diana Loaiza to my far left. Ladies, thanks for joining the program.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, great to have you. Now, you're off to a great start this season, undefeated.
Yes, sir.
So far. I'd like to hear from each of you. If you were to sum it up, what has been the key to these opening wins at the start of the season here?
Well, we got a good handful of freshmen that came in this year, and they're all super excited, and I think the team has just started to come together with a lot of positive energy.
Yeah. We've had the energy from the past year to this year. We've really stepped it up a lot, and we've been working a lot harder, so it's really showing off right now.
Now, Diana, you're a defender.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that, how the defense is playing, and also, how your goalkeeper's doing back there, keeping the opponent's goal totals nice and low for you guys?
Yeah, so our goalie's a freshman, so I think at first we were kind of we don't know how experienced she'll be, but she's doing really amazing. Defense, we're really working hard and trying to help out.
Catherine Collins, your
Yeah.
freshman goalkeeper,
Yes.
off to a great start herself, and certainly the defense a big part of that.
Yeah.
Now, Makaya, let's talk specifically over the weekend. You guys took a road trip and were able to get the win.
We
For
did.
fans who weren't able to perhaps watch the broadcast of that and didn't see how it unfolded, describe kind of how the match went from start to finish.
Well, I don't know. I feel like
It
it was interesting because
Yeah.
we got out there and we scored pretty early in the game, and then Randolph ended up getting one on us, and then we got another, and then they got another. Then they ended up. I don't think
Yeah.
they ever got the lead on us, but it ended up being 4-4, and then
Yeah, in the
finally at
second
the end
half.
we ended up getting this spurt of energy, and we just got a couple more on them. But it was a fantastic game.
Yeah, back and forth, it seems like, in
Yeah.
6-4, which is a very low, total as far as the game goes. So
Yeah.
I would imagine defensively you guys felt like, hey, every goal matters in this one. We really got to tighten things up.
Yeah, the defense was on top of it this game. We had amazing crashes. Everyone had great communication. Like we said, Casey, our goalie, was fantastic. But, yeah, it was a great game.
Now, Diana, would like folks to get to know you a little bit better, as well as you, Makaya. Where did you begin playing lacrosse, and at what age?
So I started in high school, and it was my junior year, so I started kind of late. And it was just kind of my friend had been playing for a while, and she's like, why don't you come out? We need people to try it. And I was like, okay, why not? And I just kind of fell in love with it. And then I didn't think I was going to play in college. I thought it was just going to be high school. And then one day Riz just called me, and I came, and I was I felt like I needed to be here. And now here I am 3 years later.
And same question for you, Makaya. What's your background in the sport of lacrosse?
So I never discovered the lacrosse until my sophomore year of high school. So that's where my journey began. And I never really thought I was going to play in college, but like Diana said, just like out of the wind, Riz just called me and she's like, hey, you want to come play lacrosse for us? And I was like, sure, yeah.
And talk a little bit about the culture of your team. You guys seem like a really close group. You guys do a ton of community service,
We
you
do.
know,
Oh,
and
yes.
our hats go off to that. I'd like to hear from each of you, you know, kind of what makes your group so special as a unit, and also the importance of the community service.
Um, well, I think being a smaller team, you know, where we get more tight-knit relationships with each other. And a lot of us have like the same major too, so we constantly are seeing each other. And even those who may not have the same majors, we always like hang out all the time and on the field and off the field. So it's just like a well-rounded relationship all throughout.
Similar feelings, Diana?
Yeah, like we're all so different, but somehow we come together no matter what, and
Yeah.
we're really open with each other. Like we were way too open with each other
Yeah,
sometimes.
sometimes.
But like I think just the energy that we always have together, and like no matter what, like I feel like we always have each other's back, and we're always there for each other, and we're always trying to do something together to make sure that we stay together as a team.
Now, would like to talk a little more about the community service. You guys
Okay.
have done amazing work in the Brevard community and in this part of the country, helping others who are in need, basically, is the bottom line to it. I'd like to hear from each of you what has been the most significant thing as far as you personally, like what's really, you know, felt the best, and also what you get out of community service. You know, everyone thinks about community service as the person receiving the good works is the one, you know, who's really benefiting. But I know you guys get a lot out of it too.
Well, our main community service project that we do is go to the Bread of Life, and we'll help serve meals, prepare meals. Like we'll cut up. I think last week we ended up cutting like a whole bunch of potatoes for them, just getting it all
Or
prepared.
like chicken or something.
Yeah. But we do more than that too. Like we've helped out the Brevard Wesleyan Church. We helped move their children's pastor. She was moving to a different house, so we got them moved out. We've helped with the Methodist Church. They were packing meals to go ship off. What else have we done? We've done quite a
We
lot.
do a
Yeah,
lot.
the meal packing was really
Yeah.
significant. A big
Yeah.
effort. It had to be choreographed just right
Yeah.
and organized.
It was
so
fun.
right.
That was like my favorite one that we've done like so far. I really felt like we were helping out, and I really liked the guy's speech and like everything. I've never been to a community service like that. Usually they're like, we'll go do this, go do that, but like everyone had its place. It was a routine. It was like very fast
And
paced.
it wasn't just us too. It was
Yeah.
their church community. So we got to get together with them, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and just to think that every one of those meals is going to someone who really needs them, it just means a lot. Well, up next, ladies, is another road trip this week,
Yes, sir.
correct? To
Yep.
Reinhardt.
Yes.
Yeah, Wednesday.
What have the coaches, and we're going to talk to one of your coaches, Tempest Smith, in just a little bit here. What have they told you is the key, you know, coming off the early wins this season to keeping the momentum against Reinhardt?
Well, we are expecting this to be another challenge for us. So the main thing is just to keep our energy up and just like not to get in our heads. We have to stay positive and keep up the hard work.
Yeah, we definitely we have to have our energy no matter what, because this is probably going to be one of the toughest games that we're going to have. And like all the games, like our last game was pretty tough, but this one will by far will be tougher. So we really have to bring it our all.
Last question. I want to go back to the 18-1 win over Montreat, which was huge on a couple of things. And I want to start with you, Micaiah. You know, you scored 8 goals,
Yes, sir.
a career high.
Yes.
I don't know if you realize this, but we did the research. It's tied for the 3rd most goals in school history. So you're right there on the leaderboards. Were you just feeling it that day, or how
Well,
did that all go down?
So it was my season opener because I was not able to play on our first game. So that was the first game I got to play this season. And I was just super pumped, you know. I was happy to be back with the team, and I was just ready to get back out there. So just all went out.
And that same game, I could ask you about holding the opponent to just one goal,
Yeah.
which is a great accomplishment for the defense. But what I want to ask you about, Diana, is just how cold and rough those conditions were at
Oh my
Montreat.
gosh.
You know, I remember the weather down here in Brevard that day,
Yeah.
and we saw hail, we saw freezing rain, we saw rain. It was cold,
Yeah.
and that game happened mainly after the sun had set, so it was probably even colder at that time of the day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How'd you manage dealing with that kind of weather?
Like at first, like on the whole bus ride, we were all trying to have like a upbeat energy, like no matter what happens, we're playing this game, like we're gonna be in it. And like when we got there, it wasn't as bad. And during like warm up, it started hailing, and everybody
like,
was just
pinging us in the
complaining.
head.
Yes, and like our coach was like, "Okay, get it all out right now, and you're done for the rest of the game. I don't want to hear anybody complain."
Yeah.
And like we would just complain to each other, but like no matter what, we wanted that win. Like we're like the winning was more important, playing that game. So we just kind of pushed through it, and we won.
Yeah, well, it certainly worked. 18-1 win
Yes.
over Montreat. You guys weathered the storm, you know, in terms of the weather goes. And then just a great start overall, 14-5, the win over Brunel in the home opener, and then the 6-4 win this past weekend up in Lynchburg, Virginia. Thanks for joining the show, ladies. Congratulations on the great start. Thank you for all the community service you all have done in the community. You really make all of us at Brevard College very proud, and you're an example for so many. And we'll look forward to following you along throughout the season.
All right,
Okay.
thank you
Great.
for having
Thanks
us.
for coming on the
us.
show. All right, that was Diana Loaiza and Makaya Bacchiano. And happy to be joined now as we stay on this women's lacrosse theme by assistant coach Tempest Smith.
Hi, Phil.
Hello, Coach Smith. Thanks for joining the show.
Glad to be here.
Well, would like to talk to you kind of breaking down these games so far this season because we're off to a 3-0 start, best start in
awesome.
program history. And so what I'd like to do is just kind of go through game by game and how did this all go down exactly. You know, the first game of the season was a 14-5 win over Brunel,
Yes, very
which is also
exciting.
the home opener, so in front of the home fans and everything. What was the key in that matchup as far as coming away with a really comfortable, at the end of the day, 9-goal win and a shutout in that first half?
So just us as a team, we're really excited, ready to go. Like the guy said before, just having our freshmen, they're really eager. So us just being excited, attacking everything, we're just ready to go. So every game is kind of like that. They're super pumped, and they just want to win.
And Jessica Gunter leading the way, career high 6 goals that day. A big game for Jessica.
She had a great game. She was awesome on goal all game. She's awesome off the draws. That's really what kept us going is her winning the draws for us.
Now, next up, and we just reviewed this with your student athletes, an 18-1 win over Montreat. Yeah, the 18 goals look impressive, but really what impresses me is the 1 goal allowed. Was that just a lockdown defensive performance by your ladies?
Our defense had a big day. Well, a big night, I should say. They definitely kept them out. They couldn't get anything past them. Every ground ball that was on the ground, we took it and went with it and took it back to the other end and put it in the back of the net, essentially.
Now, those were tough conditions in terms of weather, and I just asked your players about it. And, you know, they said that you as coaches, you know, really try to keep them mentally into the game and not worrying about staying warm, I guess.
No, because I personally know it's tough, especially when it's cold. Your hands are cold, your hands are freezing, and then you're wet on top of that. So when the music is going, we just try to dance and just keep them motivated to think about anything else other than the conditions that we're playing in.
Now, just how bad were they? Because, you know, you have a playing career to look back at as well that we're going to get into some. But have you played in worse than that?
I've actually played in snow, so before I got here to Brevard, but when I got here to Brevard, I've never played in freezing rain like that before. So it's definitely a new experience for me as well.
Yeah, and I'd imagine a sport like lacrosse, I mean, once things get slick and slippery,
It makes everything a lot tougher. So you really got to hold on to your stick and really get those balls in the net.
now, most recently, and I do want to break down this game in particular because a lot of fans might not have had a chance to really get much information from up there. Up in Lynchburg, Virginia, so you guys took the road trip quite a ways, to get up there, and a 6-4 victory over Randolph. On the field, what was the key to coming up with the W there?
Kind of the same game plan we had with Montreat, though conditions weren't the best. It's a lot better than freezing rain, but it was slick, it was wet. So just keeping them focused on the game and what our task was and get them done.
In a real big push late in that game to come up with the win, really a come-from-behind win and to put it away. What was the key as far as keeping the ladies focused down the stretch late in that second half?
Just made it really clear to them, you guys want to take this really long road trip to not come back with a win, or are we going to take this really long road trip, dig ourselves out this hole, and keep going? And they wanted to win. So our upperclassmen pretty much put the team on their back, and they let us down the way.
Now, we had head coach Krista Rosado on the program a couple weeks ago, and she spoke of you as someone who does a great job teaching the technical side of the sport. And you all have several student athletes who are fairly new to the sport of lacrosse. They're either a natural athlete who you all have identified could be a great lacrosse player, or they've switched sports, or they're even a dual sport athlete. Can you let folks know kind of behind the scenes a little bit when a athlete comes up to you and says, hey, I can run fast, I've got great endurance, I'm strong, but I've never held a lacrosse stick before.
And
Where do you start with someone like that?
just getting them comfortable with the stick and how to place their hands. So I put them on the wall, so it's called wall ball. That's how you get comfortable learning about yourself and learning about your stick. So just from there, after that, I can teach you everything else. As long as you're willing to learn, I will take the time and step by step. Every day is just something new.
Yeah, well, it's certainly paying off because a lot of those student athletes who might not have deep experience, particularly in the sport of lacrosse, seem like they're coming together pretty quick here, and obviously the 3-0 start is a testament to that. Now, Coach, you played your career here at Brevard as well.
I did.
And you were here for some of the early days of the program when women's lacrosse arrived on the scene. You were a big part of the first win in program history against Emmanuel back on March 21st in 2015.
Yeah, it's a very, very exciting day.
Yeah, let's go back in the time machine a little bit. How instrumental was that for you all to finally get the first win in program history and, feel like that women's lacrosse has arrived at Brevard College?
It was awesome, especially because the beginning of the season was a real struggle. So us just being able to keep that lead and just hold on to it, it was very exciting once the clock hit 0-0.
Now, you were a defensive player for the Tornadoes. Do you work specifically with the defenders, or, do you and Coach Rosado really kind of do the responsibilities, blend regardless of position?
Not super specifically. I have my hand in the draws and a little bit on offense. I can kind of see the gaps as a defender where some things might hurt us. But essentially, we both see each side, so we collaborate on everything, which really makes it a lot better.
Now, you're from New York, correct?
Yes.
And I know lacrosse is big up in the Northeast. So when did you start playing?
I actually didn't start playing until I started college in 2012.
Okay, so you
Also
went
late to the
through what a
game.
lot of these current
Yeah.
student athletes are doing.
I've never heard of lacrosse until I started college, and I was like, this looks like fun. I'm just going to go try it. And it worked out really well.
No kidding. No doubt about it. Now, were you an athlete in other sports before that?
I ran a little bit, but nothing too serious.
And you just fell in love with it right away, or did it take a while to gain the skills first and then,
Pretty
come
much
to enjoy it?
just like that. It's kind of like what these girls are going through, so I personally know how it is. The first year is the roughest. But if you spend your summer just working really hard, just learning how to catch and throw, coming back into it, it's so much easier.
Now, you're up in New York. You transfer to Brevard College. You've been here ever since, first as a player, now as a coach. I ask a lot of guests this question, especially ones from out of town like you and I who've come a long way to get here, but also to stay here. What makes Brevard College so special and such a attractive place, not only to go to school, but also to live?
It's the area and the people. If you feel comfortable and you feel like you're at home, you can be anywhere and be just fine. So first I fell in love with the team. Their team was really inviting and they were warm, and it was like just being at home with my friends. So that made the difference to committing to come here and play at Brevard. And then after, the coaching staff, from being a player and then just getting to know them as not as a coaching staff after not being a player, it made a difference.
Now, has that been a tough transition from you, going from player fairly recently to now a coach where you're now an authority figure? Are there any issues you've had to work through there?
Not really. It was more of getting used to having to stand and watch on the sideline more than anything. Most of the girls I played with, and then transitioning into a student assistant, and then transitioning into a coach. So I earned the respect from them just by the transitioning process.
And do you feel like you can relate to the student athlete and some of the things they may be going through, sometimes not even lacrosse related, just because you were there so recently?
Yeah, just knowing what it's like to be having to juggle everything, it gets a little stressful. And I know what it's like, so sometimes I have them take a deep breath, take a step back and relax, and then we go over a game plan and smooth it out.
Now, I do want to talk a little bit about this USA South Athlete Rookie of the Week.
Oh, I'm super excited about that.
All right, so Hannah Scharf, right?
Mm-hmm.
She won the USA South Women's Lacrosse Rookie of the Week. It was announced today. First ever award of that type for Brevard College, so we'll add that to the list of firsts. And she's really been off to a great start, this freshman, as far as jumping right in and getting after it. She was on the show a couple weeks ago, so, maybe we gave her a little bit of a bump. I know Joseph and I, we'll take any credit we can get, really, but she's off to a great start. But the bottom line is she won this award today. I'm sure it's well-earned. Mm-hmm. Brag a little bit about Hannah and, gloat a little bit about this award for us.
Hannah definitely works hard. Even when nobody's watching, she's out there working on her shot, trying to get better. And it's just her freshman year, so I'm super excited to how we can mold her and what she can potentially do for the program. The first award of many.
Yeah, just great stuff.
Fingers crossed.
No, I was actually sitting with you in the Myers Dining Hall when the news broke, and I could see it on your face. You just suddenly started to glow on the news of this award. So big congratulations to Hannah for winning that award. Now back to business. Reinhardt this week, challenging opponent for you all.
It's going to be our hardest game we faced yet. There'll be more to come, but this is a great introduction to what is now coming down the line after our 3-game winning streak.
Now, with that tough of an opponent, simple question, how do you get the win?
We stay disciplined in what we're doing. If things start to fall apart, don't panic. We just fix it as we go along. The main thing is really don't panic if anything goes wrong.
Very good. Well, it sounds like a very solid game plan. Best of luck this week and also beyond throughout this season. We'll be following every step of the way. And thanks for coming on Tornado Talk, Coach Smith. It was great to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Phil.
All right. That was assistant coach Tempest Smith of women's lacrosse. Women's lacrosse off to best start in program history, 3-0. And they'll play Reinhardt this week. And we'll shift gears now and talk a little football. Excited to have these two on the show. Two veterans of Tornado Talk, but here in a completely different role than when you last heard from them. Joined now by Bubba Craven and Axel Easter.
How you doing?
I can now call them Coach Craven and Coach Easter because these two are now part of the coaching staff at Brevard College. Listeners and viewers know you all from your playing career at Brevard, and we're going to get into that a little bit too. But if you haven't seen the news, both Axel and Bubba were named student assistants. Axel, student assistant coach and the assistant defensive line coach. Bubba Craven, student assistant coach, and the assistant wide receivers coach. So you guys will both be coaching the units that you played. Like to hear from both of you. We'll start with you, Bubba. So far, you're a couple weeks into this. How has the transition gone from being a player to now part of the coaching staff?
Well, it's a lot different. Can't hang out with the same guys you always hang out with. Can't work out with them. It's been fun, though. I mean, I just love the game so much, and I'm grateful that Coach Kai had told me that he had a spot on the staff so I could get back to the game and get back to what got me to Brevard College.
And Axel, how about yourself? What have been some of the things that you've been working on in specific as part of that coaching staff?
Right, and I think it's just the same thing Bubba said. It's just being blessed to give back to the game, just having so much love for it and being able to, take everything that you personally know and be able to, coach on players.
Now, Bubba, you're working with Coach Bather.
Coach Bathers, yes,
yeah,
sir.
Coach Bather, really working closely with him, I'd imagine, in grooming, this next group of wide receivers. Has that been a bit of a transition from going from, hey, this was my coach, and he was teaching me, and now we're working together to teach the next one?
Well, the good thing about that is everyone knows I have a lot of love for Coach Bathers, and he's done so much for me. I'm still learning myself. I've only been playing the receiver position for 2.5 years now, so as me and Coach Bathers work together, I can learn a lot of things from him, but the guys see the transition from him to me, see my success, so hopefully that rubs off on them, me being very coachable. I want them to be very coachable, and even though it's me coaching them, I want them to listen and have the utmost respect, but also it's gonna be different because I just got done playing with them, so they know I can come out there and show them what to do. If it's run a route, if it's how to block properly, I can always get out there and show them. So that's a great aspect of it.
And now, Axel, I'm sure you're working closely with defensive coordinator Luke Jakes, who's in a new role himself, as well as the rest of that defensive staff. Similar to what Bubba said as far as you now working with them and getting ready for the coaching side of things?
Right. It's just, just focusing on the scheme of things and then, just taking the pass. So I've had 3 different defensive line coaches since I've been here at Brevard College. And just taking those aspects and different things from those 3 coaches and putting it in and trying to, help my players be better.
Well, I do want to congratulate each of you on your new roles. It's exciting to see you guys enter the coaching profession, and you've got a tremendous staff of veterans who've been, some amazing places in their career and a lot of knowledge across that coaching staff to groom you guys. And if this is what you want to keep on doing, I think you're in the perfect spot for it. There's no doubt about that. Now, I would like to talk a little playing days, they're not that far in the rearview mirror yet that we can think back on this. And Bubba, we'll start with you. Out of Pleasant Garden, North Carolina, a huge year. USA South All-Conference first team. You broke all sorts of records: career receptions, career yards, touchdowns, single game receiving records. I'd imagine the records aren't what you're going to remember, though. I've talked to enough of you guys over the years to know that it's probably something more than that, right?
Yeah. It's just being with this coaching staff for the short amount of time, them translating everything they know into me. Coach Bathers working with me after practice, after spring ball, after weightlifting. Really just a lot goes to Coach Bathers, and it shows how good of a coach he is to translate what he knows to a quarterback, then to a receiver. It's awesome coaching staff.
Now, Bubba, one thing I haven't had the chance to talk to you about yet was your selection to the national
Oh,
Bowl
yeah.
in your trip down there to Daytona Beach to participate in that. For folks who may not have heard about that or seen the story that you headed down there to the National Bowl, kind of tell folks about that experience and what the National Bowl is exactly.
Well, the National Ball is for the top, so-called the top D3 and D2 players. So I got down there, and first day is a little different than playing the D3 cats. You know, there's a lot of good D2 players, which I look at myself as a very good D2 player as well. You know, there's people D3 who should be playing D1. There's people D1 who should be playing D3. You got down there, and I showed them what Brevard College was all about, and I showed them that I belonged. So it was a very good experience, and hats off to my coaches for getting me there.
Yeah, and I'm sure you were able to meet a lot of people within the industry
Yes,
there
sir,
and gain some good contacts for your career moving on.
Yes, sir, I did. Very good people.
And now on to Axel. We got to talk about your career here a little bit too. Native of Graham, North Carolina, you also were named USA South All-Conference on the second team. You led the USA South in sacks with 8 and also tackles for loss with 17. Remembering back to your senior year, what are the things you think you're going to remember forever from it?
Well, I think it's just, being around the guys and the family that we always had at D-line. And I think I'll always remember how Kurt Gavea actually made me love the game, football again, because when we were Division II, I broke my ankle in half, and I had to take a semester off of college. It made me lose a lot of love for the game, and I didn't know if I really loved it or not. And then when these coaches got here, they just instilled the love of the game back into me, and I'll be forever thankful for that, really, truthfully and honestly.
Now, I will end with this. I'd like you each to talk about the other,
Okay.
because you guys had to line up against each other in those practices a number of times.
Oh, yeah.
So, you kind of know what's what with that 11 that's on the other side and, who really is the difference maker and so forth. So, Bubba, we'll start for you. Talk about just how ferocious of a defensive end and a pass rusher was Axel.
Well, luckily I didn't have to block him that much. So, but whenever I'd come down to the slot position, I'd have to block him a good bit on the outside run plays and the counter and trap plays. And really, I look back towards when Coach Kyatt's staff first got here. We were D2. We still had full pads. That spring was very brutal. And me and Ax, we kind of could set an example. We kind of could push each other. He would push me more than I would push him. So we kind of beef with each other and get everyone riled up. But we knew we were a family. That kind of got everyone behind us. It kind of got everyone ready to play ball and ready to be physical doing it. And Axel, he's so quick. You look at him and he's like DN, but definitely the best DN even at the National Ball. There was no one quicker than Axel there. So what a player he was.
Now, before I turn it over to Axel to return the favor, who you did match up against in those practices were those DBs, and they set all sorts of great numbers as well in terms of leading the USA South and pass defense and things like that. All sorts of INTs. We had that turnover belt come out quite a few times thanks to those guys. Talk about that unit and just how strong they were this year, and maybe even a few of those names who you'll always remember as, man, that guy is a lockdown corner, or that guy is a hovering safety who you got to watch out for.
Wyatt was definitely the guy I went against every day in practice. I got him better, and I know he got me better. Hopefully he could say the same. Quentin as well. We just did so much one-on-one with Coach Jakes and Coach Bathers. There was so much one-on-one action going, so much hands fighting. They'd put their hands on me. Coach Bathers said, get them off of you. Be physical. Don't be scared to make them mad. And that's really what brings out the best in everyone, competition. A lot of programs, and especially in D3, you don't see competition in practice. You don't have it really. So Coach Kyatt, he instills it in you. You're not going to play if you don't compete, and you're not going to play if you don't practice. It's simple as that. So just competing every day with Wyatt and Dante and Quentin, it was awesome, and I can't wait to watch them play this year.
Yeah, no doubt. That's a solid group that's coming
Solid,
back for
yeah.
us. So
It's gonna help us out,
Going to
win
be
us
a
a lot of
big
games.
strength on that defense. Now, Axel, let's return the favor to Bubba. Obviously a DN and a wideout don't
little
match up
different,
too
but-
often in practice, but you saw what this guy could do.
Oh, yeah.
All the time. When you're on that sideline during games, and probably from a emotional standpoint too, as far as being a leader on the team.
Right.
Tell folks maybe something they don't know about Bubba, and what you'll always remember about him.
Just Bubba is the hardest working person you'll ever meet, and not only is the most hardest working, but he's also the most humble. Although he has all these records and all these accolades, he doesn't ever brag about it or anything. He always works like he hasn't accomplished anything. And I think that speaks to why he has so many accolades behind him. And as far as the leadership, he'd always step up and try to motivate the team forward. During warm-ups and stuff like that. And one of the things I always remember about Bubba is I remember when he came in, when we were Division II, he came in as a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And back then we ran a triple option, so the quarterback would take the ball sometimes. And I'll never forget, we were in, mini camp, and he came down and rocked one of our linebackers and ran him over. And everybody was like, whoa. Because you don't see that from a quarterback. And that's just one thing about Bubba. He's a hard hitter. He'll come downhill. It's almost like he's playing a safety.
And just as I asked Bubba, I'd like you to comment on, those guys in the trenches on the other side. That O-line,
Right.
Sort of the unheralded,
Yes, sir.
group. They don't
Yeah.
get in the stat sheets. They
Never
don't
in
get
the
on the
newspaper.
highlights.
Yeah.
They're never in the newspaper. But boy, do they matter to the success of any
Oh, yeah.
football team on any level. Talk about Brevard College's offensive line in particular, and how they probably helped you become a better player in all those practices as
Right.
well.
Just the progression that you see from him every day is when we work pass rush and we do one-on-ones, and even in some some team drills and stuff like that. You just see that progression from every day. When I was matched up against Uni, who's our left tackle.
Yep.
He's, I saw him on day one, and just to see, how better he got, throughout the year, and how, some of the moves I was using wasn't starting to work. I had to use new things and stuff like that, and, it just made me better, and I'm sure it made him better. And just when you see, just the progression throughout the year, it's just this is a great job that Coach Lindsay does with those boys.
Yeah, we had Coach Lindsay on the show last week, and
Oh, yeah.
I love talking to offensive linemen.
Yeah.
The media at the highest levels, who cover the NFL and things like that. Those guys, those reporters will always tell you the offensive linemen are the best ones to talk to
Yeah.
because
Take them out to eat.
Yeah, first of all, there isn't as big of a crowd there in terms of all the cameras and everything, so you usually can get a little time with them, but they know their stuff. They know the game. And they've seen it all, kind of thing. And so it's always fun to talk with them. Bubba, Axel mentioned something that I'd like to ask you about. That transition from option quarterback to wide receiver.
Yes, sir.
that you had to make. With the change of the offense that Coach Kyatt brought in. Is that something you feel like you've always got in your back pocket, that if an athlete ever comes around kind of like you were and joins the Tornadoes, for instance, and they may be an option quarterback, in their past, that now the steps to take to go from option quarterback to wide receiver? And
sir.
what are those steps?
It's really not that hard, because I always looked at myself as an athlete. Coming out of high school, I didn't get no recognition hardly. Coming here, my freshman year, I didn't have no recognition. My sophomore year, kind of stepped up, got some recognition, but I always had the athletic bone in me, and Kyatt, he could see that. And some people say the best athletes come from old quarterbacks, because they know what you're doing. They know if the receiver is going to break out at this yardage or this. It adds chemistry to your team. And having another quarterback, that's why Tyler Gregory was so big for us as well. Number one, having another quarterback on the field, players can come to you and ask you questions, and it's almost like being a coach on the field. So it's really mentally, but always you'll know if you got the athletic ability. I mean.
Yeah,
Yes,
it actually makes a lot of sense.
Yes,
Know,
sir.
you'd rather the natural athlete who you then can mold into whatever possession you need him at than the opposite of a guy who just
Exactly.
doesn't have it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
Well, congratulations, guys, and it's not only you two, but also Caleb Chandler and Justin Peck, who are
Yeah.
part of this staff too. So they're going through some of that same transition you all are. But I know you guys play a very valuable role, and having been in the trenches so recently, you can maybe communicate some things to the veteran coaches
Definitely.
that they may not be realizing is happening there, and can help
Definitely.
out for the
Because
greater
you got to
good.
remember they come from NFL and D1, so you got to, hey coach, maybe if we did this, maybe if we did that, having some suggestions never hurts. So
That's great. Well, as I mentioned before, you guys are, I feel like, just in exactly the right place. You've got a great leader in head coach Bill Kyatt and an amazing staff underneath him, and you guys are now part of it. I'm excited to see you all grow into this new role, but I'm even more excited to see the results that the Tornadoes put up
Yes, sir.
next season
Oh, yeah.
as this program continues to grow by leaps and bounds. So
Yes, sir.
thanks for coming on the show again. It's been
Yeah,
fun
we
to talk to you
appreciate it.
guys now as coaches,
Yes, sir.
and I'm sure we'll talk down the road.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right, thank you.
So that was Axel Easter and Bubba Craven, newly appointed student assistant coaches for the Brevard College football program under head coach Bill Kyatt, and great to have them now part of the coaching staff. Just illustrious careers as student athletes. And now happy to be joined by fairly newly appointed.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to call you new.
Yeah,
to Brevard College. The new head men's and women's cross country and track and field coach Daryl Patrick.
Hey,
Coach, thanks for joining the show.
yeah, glad to be here.
Well, excited to have Coach Patrick on the show so we can introduce him to the Brevard College Tornado
That's right.
audience. Let's start with a simple question, Coach. What's your background, where you're from, how'd you get into the world of cross country and track and field?
Well, I've been running for a long, long time, for about since I was 12. So I'm a distance runner at heart. I've been running up in nearby Cincinnati, Ohio, and so I just after college went to Berea College and ran there for 4 years, and I just thought I would get into coaching, and so thankfully the coach there brought me in. So I've been there for 6 years now, and then this job opportunity came up here, and so took the opportunity and went for it. So
Now, you all enjoyed a lot of success at Berea, especially in the area of cross country.
Yes.
Tell folks a little bit about that, some of the accolades you guys were able to collect.
yeah, so even before I was running there, is always known for cross country and track at Berea, Coach Mike Johnson, and successfully winning conference championships, representing nationals and NAIA. So it was always a tradition to compete well and be at your A game every year. So I just, my first few years, it was a learning experience for me coming from as an athlete to coaching, but we transitioned from NAIA to Division III, where we were competing in NAIA, but then this past year, we just finished 24th in NCAA cross for Division III. So it's a big step for them. So it's a lot of hours, a lot of hard work, but I'm very thankful for the opportunity, and so I'm just kind of going with it.
Well, certainly coming from a Division III institution and also a fellow member of the USA South Conference gives
Yep.
you a lot of familiarity
Yes,
coming
absolutely.
into.
That's what made the transition really well. Yeah.
So here at Brevard College, we've got a significant history in cross country in
Yes.
specific. If you were to go over to the Boschmer Gymnasium and walk through some of those trophy cases, you'll see just how successful this program has been over the years. How important is that to success moving forward, the fact that the history here is so strong in cross country?
Yeah, I mean, history is a big selling point, knowing that the potential is here. And that's what kind of drew me into is the fact that it had this at one point where it was very dominant, especially in junior college level. And so, like, it has the facilities to be a really good program. And so, and meeting with Norm, like, he was a big influence in telling me, like, how to make it work here. And it's different being from junior college to Division II to now Division III, but you can still have that selling point of the area and the facilities to know that this can be a good program. It's gonna take time, but it definitely has that potential. So, and I definitely want to live up to that for sure.
And sticking with the distance running, from my understanding, this is an area of the country that a lot of top distance runners come to train. Because of the hill work and so forth. So how big of an asset is that as you're recruiting athletes to come here to Brevard, that we're right here in this area?
I'm going to use that every single day. My distance runners now, that they go out for their runs, they're going in the trails. They're not running on the track.
So it's literally on the trails in the mountains, the same ones that people like myself would go hiking on. That you guys would
some
be
of them,
running.
Yeah, and there's nice bike paths as well if they don't want to run on the slick mud since it's been raining a lot here. But yeah, there's plenty of running facilities here. And yeah, that's one of the biggest running camps in the country here, just on campus. And so it's crazy. I hadn't even heard of it before I came here, so I was just like, wow. So yeah, I definitely want to dive into that more and use all of our area, not just here. Like, there's even roads or trails 30-40 minutes out that a lot of people go near Asheville and stuff like that.
Right, so a short drive away, there's even more opportunity. So you've got some great resources here, this tremendous history with cross country, the area of being here in the western North Carolina mountains, a great facility in terms of a track right on campus. So you want to talk a little bit about that, just how, you've been probably to a lot of small colleges, throughout the United States. I would gather that the track here at Brevard College is an excellent facility.
Oh, yeah. It's got everything you need. It's fairly new. I'd say about, 3 or 4 years old. So, I mean, it's still pretty good, up to date. It's right behind campus, literally a 2-minute walk. So it's not too strenuous on athletes to get there. But it's got everything you need. It's nice and blue, so you can't miss it. So, yeah, I mean, I love it. I can't complain about it.
Now, track and field is what's on the immediate horizon. And I know you've been working hard and on short notice in a lot of ways to put together this year's squad. Talk a little bit about the squad you've gotten in place and maybe a couple of those student athletes who we should be keeping an eye out for.
So in this short amount of time, believe it or not, I'm actually surprised with how many people we've gotten, especially on the men's side. We got about almost 20 men and then 6 girls, but a lot of them came from different sports, multi-sport athletes like football and some basketball, and some obviously cross country. So, but yeah, I think our bright spot right now is our sprinting program. We got a couple good throwers too, and one a really good distance runner. But I'd say our strongest point would be our sprinters. We got a good selection of fun characters, but they work hard. I think we can. There's a couple. Quentin Jackson. He's an experienced one. I think he's a junior. So
and he'll be a dual sport athlete.
Yeah,
with
he
football.
Played. He was. I think he was all conference corner as well. So I mean, it's an easy transition in terms of the work ethic, and just being there every day, being accountable, work hard. So I look for him to do some good things. And then distance-wise, Gavin Morgan, he's a freshman. He's very raw, got a lot of potential. I try to tell him that every day. But, he's look for him, maybe not necessarily this year, but a couple years down the road, you're going to hear that name a lot. So, and then women-wise, Shakira, she just came from basketball. Thompson, she's a very good sprinter. We have a good thrower named Ashley Smith. She's a freshman as well, so I look for her to score some points in conference as well. And we're very young. We're very, very young. I think we only have, only 4 or 5 upperclassmen. Everybody else are freshmen, or maybe one sophomore. So very inexperienced, but I know it's again an easier transition for me because I'm going to grow with them, and so I got 4 years with them, and so right this season we're just going to have fun, compete, do the best we can, and just have fun with it, and then hopefully we can build upon that for years and years to come.
Now, I do want to ask you about one event in track and field, and to me, it has got to be the hardest one to identify an athlete. And you may be able to say there's another event that's harder to find a fit, but the pole vault.
Yeah.
How, as you're looking at high school athletes or athletes from other sports, does one in your shoes identify an athlete as someone who could be a successful pole vaulter?
Well, to be honest, my philosophy is I'm not a big fan of pole vaulting. I'm more of a distance guy, and then I like sprinting and throwing as well. But pole vaulting, yeah, it's a tough. Like you got to start at a very young age, pole vaulting, and that's all you do. Like you just keep practicing that, just like with like any other sport. Like whatever you're good at, you just keep doing it over and over again.
Right. So you're telling me there's youth out there who are focused just on pole vault from a young age.
Right. At the ones that you see like at the big Division I, U.S. Olympic level, like they start at a very young age.
Wow, fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, some that they might develop later on. But most of the time, it's early. It's early. But they're pretty good athletes. Like you got to be strong. Like it's not just bending a pole and off you go. You got to be really really strong and all well rounded. But you got to. It's one of those that you got to have confidence and belief that you can get higher and higher, because one bad accident, it can end you. So it's one of those high risk, high reward things, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense, Coach. Well, last thing I would like to end here, and just like to hear from you as far as, now that you've been here for, a few weeks, a few months.
Yeah.
How do you like it so far, and what are your impressions of Brevard College and also the area?
Oh, I love it. Like I said, I love the area because I'm a distance guy, so there's obviously places to go. Great scenery. Everybody here is very friendly and understanding of the process. And so it's been a smooth transition, and they all understand it's going to take time, and just going to have fun with it, and just do the best we can, and hopefully within years to come, everybody's going to know about Brevard.
Yeah, well, Coach Daryl Patrick, be sure to keep an eye on bctornadoes.com. They're going to be in action throughout the spring on the track and field side, and then we'll be gearing up for a big fall cross-country season as well. Coach Daryl Patrick, the new head men's and women's cross-country and track and field coach. Thanks for joining the show tonight,
thank you for having
Coach.
me. Thank you.
It's great to have you.
Thank you.
And best of luck through the spring.
All right, thank you.
So that was Daryl Patrick, the new head men's and women's cross-country and track and field coach. And we'll shift gears yet again. We're going to talk a little administration, athletic administration coming up here. As our guests get settled, we are joined now by Brevard College Director of Athletics, Miranda Nash, along with Berea Director of Athletics, Mark Cartmill, and we'll tell you in a second why he's in town.
I'm struggling a little bit. We're not that technologically savvy, Berea.
Go.
Now we're set to go. Well, it's great to have two athletic directors here with us, and the reason why is Brevard College is hosting the USA South a summit tomorrow, some coaches meetings and that kind of thing. So Miranda, why don't we start with that? What's going on tomorrow exactly as far as Brevard College and their role as host of this USA South event?
Yep, so it's the Fall Coaches Summit. And so we'll have men's soccer, women's soccer, volleyball, and then cross country with us. So every conference school will be here represented. I think they're going to do some professional development, mental health, and student athletes, which I think is really important for us to kind of hear from the experts in the field. And then they break up and they do a little bit of business. So the afternoon is spent with their individual sports.
Now, Mark, could you enlighten us even further? Because for Miranda and I, it'll be our first USA South Coaches Summit.
Right.
And, Brevard College is new to the USA South. I'm new to Brevard College and the USA South altogether. Miranda's been away for a couple years before returning. Exactly, what goes on at one of these summits?
Well, the new commissioner started there. I think this is Tom's third year, and so he initiated it. And the idea really was to get all the coaches to meet face-to-face for each sport, because we're so wide spread out in the conference, all the way from Virginia to Kentucky to Alabama, and so that they thought it was a good idea trying to get everybody together and say meet face-to-face, and instead of just doing a phone call type thing. So I think it's been good. And they do it 3 times a year now.
Yep.
We do all the different sports, and there's changeover, with different coaches and things. So I think it hopefully makes them feel a little more comfortable when they do face their opponents, that they've met the other coach.
Excellent. Well, you're listening to Mark Cartmill, the athletic director at Berea. He's been the AD there since 2008, and he came
Correct.
from the Northeast,
Yes,
correct?
came
In a
from
long
Paul
history.
Smith College and near Lake Placid, 8 feet of snow and 10 below zero. And so Kentucky was a nice change, and so we've enjoyed it.
Now, you've been involved in the small college athletic scene
Right.
for a long time. I'd like to start with NCAA Division III.
Right.
What are the real benefits of Division III, of an institution deciding, hey, let's go with Division III as our choice of model?
Right. Well, I think the D3 is easily recognizable. It's the largest division in Division III. Many more members than Division II or Division I. So I think, number one, recruiting-wise, at least for Berea, I think it attracted maybe higher academic type students that maybe were looking at it as much if we were an NAI school. So I think that that has been a plus. I think D3 is very well organized. It stands for something. So I think it's been a good experience. So we're fairly new to it also. This is only our second full year as being full-time members. So we went through the whole process, and that Brevard is doing now, a little bit different because they were coming down from Division II, but it was our first introduction to it. So you go through, they're checking, I'll make sure you're ready to go. But I've found that the D3 is very supportive. They want the schools to succeed. They're willing to help you, the administration, the NCAA. So I think it's name recognition, I think, as much as anything. So when you go to kids, so I've been at a junior college who then went NAI. In between, we were USCA, which we also did here. But I think it really maybe broadens your profile, and I think helps you attract kids from different areas.
And Miranda, we spoke on this subject way back in September when we first had you on the show. But if you could update viewers or folks who may not have even listened to that interview, where Brevard College is at as far as this reclassification into the NCAA Division III?
Yep, so we are currently in year 2. It's a 4-year process, but Pfeiffer and us will be putting in a waiver for years 3 and 4. So best case scenario, we're full members next year. Worst case scenario, we repeat this year and then get the waiver for year 3 only. So fingers crossed, we should know by August. Jay Jones has been fantastic with NCAA Division III. He's going to help us write the waiver. Locked him in January.
Jay's great.
Yeah, he's been great. So, we're hoping they've just never done it before. And so we're in a little different scenario coming as a Division III member, just reclassifying, as well as Pfeiffer. So we're hoping that they kind of give us a little bit of leverage for that.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. That's great if they could do that, so he could get going and be eligible for the tournaments and everything. For the kids, would be great.
Absolutely.
And once the whole idea with the 4 years is trying to get the athletic scholarships kids out, and you've already done that, so why not? So Jay's super.
Yeah, he's awesome.
So hopefully that works out for you, and I think it'd be great for the conference too.
Yep.
Speaking of which, so we went over kind of the positives and the benefits of NCAA Division III. I'd like to hear even more about the USA South Conference, since you've been there a couple more years than we have, and sort of the culture of that conference, and the benefits of being part of the USA South.
We're still learning as we go along, but when we got in, before we got in the year before, they were all in one division. So they were looking at us to help them be able to go split up into East and West. So that really helped travel-wise for everybody. So I think some of the schools, some of the sports, would still play crossover. But you play everybody. For instance, men's basketball plays everybody. All right, you play everybody in our division twice, and they cross over, play everybody on the other side once. Women's basketball has enough teams where they just play everybody in their division twice.
Because some of the universities or colleges are all female.
Yes, you're right.
Enrollment.
I think there's 4 total. I think now Mary Baldwin has men, so I think there's 4, 2 in each division. But I think the USA South does a great job of promoting the conference. The kids get a lot of awards, as far as you have sportsmanship awards that from each team. You've got your weekly athletes, athletes of the week type thing, male and female. And then, like I said, I just on my way back from the women's basketball championship down in Piedmont College that ended on Sunday. So they do a nice job running their tournaments, first class. And I've really enjoyed the people I've gotten to know in the conference, all the administrators. And I think we would meet 3 times a year. We just met at the convention, and then we meet in the fall, correct?
May.
November.
We'll have May.
In May and November, and then January. But I think it helps getting the more collegiality you can get in getting to know the other ADs and that type of thing, and it makes it easier maybe to work out problems and things like that nature. But I've been impressed the way the conference is run.
Yeah, and I must say, from my perspective, from the sports information seat, I've enjoyed Mike Christie, who's the head of the sports information area for the conference, but also, all the conference SIDs looking out for each other and that kind of thing. It's got to be a team effort. We're not, while they're competing on the field, we can't compete as, colleagues. So I do appreciate that part of the USA South. Miranda, if you can let listeners and viewers know a little bit about what's going on this spring at Brevard College. I saw you at the climbing event over the weekend, so we're fast and furious with the spring sports. So for those who may not have checked you out on that broadcast, can you fill people in as far as what's going on around BC athletics?
Yeah, trying to remember what I talked about. No, spring always goes so fast. We get a chance to plan for fall and winter, and then spring gets here. February flies, March is over, April, we're planning the awards banquet, and then it's graduation time, so it's hard to believe. But, we're in full swing. We have a ton of home events this weekend that, if you haven't talked about, you're going to be talking about soon. But campus is going to be busy. We're hoping to do a tailgate at one of our games for Tornado Club members and for community members to come by, grab a hot dog, see a game. We've got our awards banquet coming up April 22nd, so that'll be a nice time for us to recognize our student athletes and what they've done all year. So it's a busy time, but if you can get out to a game in this beautiful sunshine, it makes it worth it.
And Mark, we had one of your former assistant coaches, Daryl Patrick, who's now our head men's and women's track and field and cross country coach on the program. Can you let folks know a little more about Berea and the athletic department in specific, and some of those highlights?
Sure. We've got 14 sports. Daryl was actually part of 6 of them, because we have indoor men's and women's track, outdoor track, and then men's and women's cross country. So he's done a great job with that. We've got soccer, men's and women's soccer, men's and women's basketball, volleyball, all the basics, baseball, softball. So we used to have swimming, but we found it really very difficult to recruit kids for swimming. So that was eliminated a few years ago. But Berea, going back historically, was NAI and NCAA Division III. So way back, the women were Division III, all the way up until 1995. The men were NAI. Just because there were more schools in the area for transportation. So they slowly evolved. In Berea, really, when I got there, we were all part-time coaches, so we've slowly built the program to get, after this year, we'll have everybody except for one sport on full-time. And as you know, it just makes a world of difference. You gotta recruit. You gotta get out there recruiting. And so our teams really in the past were not that successful. Some would do well. But getting on the full-time coaches has been a big plus for us. Have very nice facilities, and now just a matter we're trying to, expand on those and make them better and more attractive for recruits.
And I would be remiss not to ask you this because I had the chance to meet you over lunch.
Right.
And you told me how much you love this part of the country where we are right now here in Brevard. And also this particular establishment, Dugan's Pub. So, just to keep it, loose here, why do you like it here so much?
Yeah, I love the area, Phil. It's like I moved down from the Adirondack Mountains and, just a beautiful place to live. My parents lived in Davidson, North Carolina. Father was the athletic director at Davidson College. When I was in college, he took that job. But they had a place up in Burnsville that my brother and I inherited, and we just sold that this fall. I got my master's at Western Carolina, 1983, a little before Miranda's time. Okay, and yours.
And even further before Joseph Marvin's time.
Joseph, So I just always kind of loved the area. And we're trying to think when we retire, where do we want to go? And I don't want to go back up north where it's just snowing and it's nuts. Okay, and 10 below zero and 8 feet of snow. So it's just beautiful down here. I think having the airport, I have 3 kids spread all over the place. One in New York, one in Florida, one in Vietnam. And, it's nice to fly them in here. And Brevard's just a great town. So we have the 2 best BC colleges in the South here.
That's
Brevard
right.
College and Berea College.
I see a budding rivalry there, just on name alone.
We're trying to get a logo, that's a new logo that can differentiate us a little bit.
It's like, who's the real BC? I can hear the chants from the grandstands. Yeah. Miranda, one with this, how important are people like Mark for your career, veterans of the business and, who are willing to sit with you, after a, radio show and shoot ideas back and forth and that kind of thing in your development, not just Mark, but others like him. How important is that?
I don't think I'd be here without people. I remember my first 80s meetings. I didn't even sit by you on accident. I said, this is that Mark guy. And, so I think it's what we like about our job is the person part. And you've got the business meeting. I've never disagreed with him, but if I did disagree with him, we would always, move on from it later and respect one another, later. But, it's everything. And I don't think that professionals, you can't get to the next level without having people on your side. And so, I mean, for me, the network is everything. That's my favorite part of it. So with student athletes and with other ADs and SWAs and SIDs, that's my favorite part.
Yeah.
So.
And I got to meet Juan just through these meetings. So that's how I started making the connection really with Brevard College was through Juan.
Sure,
we
Juan
were kind of
Mascara.
going through at the same time. We were just getting in the conference, and so Juan's a blast. We had a lot of fun together. And, saw his office today. Went up to where the Big Chief's office is there. And, and Miranda was meeting with him. So so it's the personalities, and you'll see it. It changes as you go along, but the collegiality and being able to make those relationships so that when you have issues, you can work through them, and it's just easier when there's a personal connection there.
Yep. Juan always said people do things for you because they like you, not because they have to. So there's, people like him at other institutions, it makes those hard calls about
Yeah.
travel or whatever so much
Sure.
easier to know that you could trust that person. They're
Yeah.
going to have your back.
Right.
And they'll go as far as they can, to
Yeah.
help you out. And
Yeah.
so I just think that's everything.
Yeah, I think I think one of the reasons we got into athletics is we want to have fun. We
Yep.
enjoy it, and we're playing games for a living and coaching games, So, like I say, I'm getting ready to retire after 35 years as an AD.
Congratulations,
Yeah.
Mark. Outstanding.
He's moving here.
You must like it
Yeah.
here.
He's going to become a Brevard native here pretty soon.
Been looking at some places, yeah.
Very good. Well, we'll watch those
Yeah, oh, yeah.
developments
Yeah.
closely,
Yeah.
Mark. And well, thanks for joining the show this
Yeah,
evening.
thank you, Phil.
It's great to have a couple of ADs from the USA South Conference on the eve of the Coaches Summit
Right.
tomorrow. I know Miranda and the staff at Brevard College have been working hard to make sure
Yes.
everything's
Yeah.
organized for that tomorrow, and I'm sure it'll go off
Yeah.
well. But best of luck through the spring
Yeah.
sports at Berea,
Yeah,
and
thank you.
congratulations again on your
Yeah,
retirement,
thank you.
Mark.
Thank you.
Well, it was great to have two athletic directors with us, Miranda Nash from Brevard College and Mark Cartmill from Berea. And just want to thank all of our guests tonight. We had women's lacrosse student athletes Makaya Vacchiano and Diana Loaiza. Great to have those two on the show. Also, women's lacrosse assistant coach Tempest Smith, football student assistant coaches Axel Easter and Bubba Craven, newly appointed cross-country and track and field coach Daryl Patrick, and we ended the show with athletic director Miranda Nash, along with Berea athletic director, who's passing through town, Mark Cartmill. Want to thank our sponsors, Arby's, Zaxby's, Holiday Inn Express, Hampton Inn, Ingalls, Mission Sports Medicine, Comporium, Pepsi, and the home of Tornado Talk, Dugan's Pub. Hope to see you this weekend for some Brevard College Tornadoes athletics events. On Saturdays, a big day on Brevard College campus. Softball doubleheader starts at noon versus Methodist at Ives Lamel Field. Baseball will have a doubleheader versus North Carolina Wesleyan beginning at noon at Gil Cone Field, and then men's lacrosse versus Pfeiffer at 5 p.m. So you literally could stick around on the campus of Brevard College and see 5 games in action. And then Sunday, the action continues. Softball doubleheader versus North Carolina Wesleyan beginning at noon at Ives Lamel Field, and then baseball, game 3 of that series versus North Carolina Wesleyan at 1 p.m. at Gil Cone Field. Hope to see you at those events on the campus of Brevard College. Make sure you check out www.bctornadoes.com. Follow BC Tornadoes on Twitter and Instagram. Like the Brevard College Athletics Facebook page, and be sure to like the YouTube page as well as the SoundCloud page, especially SoundCloud if you enjoy the audio product. If you just want to listen to these programs via your Bluetooth in your car or on your headphones, SoundCloud might be the spot for you. Thank you again for all of you making tonight's show possible. We'll see you soon for another edition of Tornado Talk, and hopefully at Brevard College this weekend for all those games. Thanks for tuning in. Good night.